I was trying to find a way to hide my double chin, but that didn't work out. So, NPR Tiny Desk is having a music submission contest now. I really like the idea of this. I've seen a lot of submissions. I don't think I stand a chance at winning, but I'm definitely going to spend the next few hours like practicing. But like I've had to rewrite this song like 4 times, change the beat, and I just had to take a break for a second. Now I feel like I might have gotten into a fair groove with this song. And here's one thing I've realized in this very specific songwriting example. Um, Even though I want to say so much, right? Like there's so many words I want to use to explain all these feelings. This is only one song. I will write other songs, and in the other songs, I can tell more in-depth stories. But for me, I have only publicly released one song. I would like to ideally release one song every day, at least for the next year. Maybe more than one song if I have the ability to do that. Or I should say the capacity to do that, because it's hard. Um, but I do feel like having a strategy, like working on it for a particular number of hours, the repetitiveness of singing the song over and over again, and then practicing it outside to get better stage performance is working out well. I'm starting to notice that, and it's encouraging. It's getting me to a place where I'm able to convey with my voice the sentiment of the song. So I like that. It's good. um but sorry, I just started ranting about the song, but that's not actually what I wanted to come on here and talk about. I wanted to come on here and talk about for a moment like life chances, because I have realized that, like, at least where I live, like I literally right now live downtown Berkeley. And if I wasn't gonna live here, before I signed the lease for this apartment, I signed a lease for another apartment in Nashville, Texas. I'm sorry, Nashville, Tennessee. It's like downtown apartment. And I still actually might move there. I'm highly debating it. I really like the place. I like the location a lot. I think that Nashville has an incredible music scene. If it's not clear, like I really am into music. Well, I have been my whole life, but I specifically am now. Um, and like I will do that. I think I will enjoy that. Um, I think I've had some really interesting experiences this last year that have really like showed me some keen lessons around adulthood, which maybe I just really did need to learn about. It was not even just about adulthood, it was about like, you know, cross cultural experiences, about um managing, a space for yourself, things about rental insurance I never knew before, things about ownership, um trust, friendship, relationships, just a lot of things that, I didn't really know before. And I've talked about this too, where I said I was gonna make a video about reproductive health for women. And I think that I was kind of thinking about this because I have a friend. He lives in Berlin. I've been trying to, like, I literally had a plan to go visit him in Berlin this last week. That was the plan. And so I booked this place I found on Agoda in Berlin. And then today he messaged me all these pictures from Malaga, which I'm going to show you guys. They're incredible. So Malaga is in Spain. And I really want to be there. Like, this is just incredible. Can you see that? That's one of them. This guy. Look at that architecture. They do have buildings like that in San Francisco, so I'm not gonna be like, I've never seen a big building before. There's like the beach. I definitely want to visit Malaga. I'm just incredibly broke right now, so that is not feasible for me. I will, make it to Malaga though. But it just how can I put it? I'm trying to figure out a way to say this where it's like simpler. Um if you become good at something, it's not really that hard to become good at something. Just pick something. If you work in a grocery store, there's grocery stores all over the planet. You could then, get go anywhere and get a job at a grocery store. If you become good at analytics and data, like me, you could probably just go anywhere and do analytics and data, right? Okay. So it's not something where you're like, oh my God, there's no space in the world now where I can contribute, where you're trying to like work really hard to figure out how to develop value. What I am dealing with personally right now is a culture war. So I just don't want to show up in corporate America without the pop and hip hop and like hip influence that is my life, right? I was thinking about this today, like when I went to Washington to work with Microsoft, and I was just in a super white town, Redmond, and like it was like a fucking culture clash. Like for me, I grew up with Rugrats, with Aaliyah. We need a resolution. Are you that somebody? Okay, I had the swoop and the like hair and the math grades, don't get me wrong, but like I don't know, like the hip hop coolness and the bands and the Nickelodeon, like that was my life, and none of it was white. It wasn't all white. Like there was as much Aaliyah as there was Backstreet Boys. There wasn't like just Backstreet Boys. Okay, and like that part of Washington, it didn't have no Aaliyahs. Okay, like Aaliyah was not present at all. And for me that is a problem. I just don't want the next generation of girls who are maybe listening to Ryan Destiny, to Justine Sky, to whoever, to Willow, to come into these places and then be like, damn, like all these old whiteys have never seen nobody like them. They don't know about the vocabulary, the culture, nothing. And like if nothing else, I just want to be like a wake up call for like all the old heads who know my name and who continue to read my super mean tweets and blog posts and shit, and who are like, Olivia's the worst. But at least they have seen something like me before. They've like now they know that I am in the realm of existence. I exist. What I'm saying to you is like in that part of Washington, Aaliyah didn't even exist. Like they don't even know who she is at all. Like you could say the name and people would be like, blah blah blah. It's almost like you were speaking fucking French or something. Hold on, my water's boiling. I mean, I don't think some of you guys like realize how much of a culture shift. Like, man, you know how like Drake is so he's just done so much shit for the culture. Where like everything he does, it like shifts culture. It's like little kids know who Drake is, adults do, like everyone does. Everyone can just be like, oh yeah, no, we totally know Drake, and they might know a little dance or something, and it's like it just makes sense. At this point, like Nicki Minaj, also like household names, Doja Cat, Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars, like The Weeknd. These are like household names that have shifted culture, okay? Like culture. So like right now, even in Redmond, people know who Drake is. People might know who like Doja Cat is. Maybe not everybody, but some people, right? I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure still people don't know who Aaliyah is. For me, what I'm seeing is there's just like these gaps in representation for like Black women because I'm not Doja Cat at all. Like nothing about my experience is even remotely close to Doja Cat. I don't look like Doja Cat. I don't talk like Doja Cat. I don't listen to any of the music that Doja Cat listens to. I don't dress like her. All of her references, I feel like I don't follow them. Like, it's just, we're not even similar. And that's when I realized I have to create my own image and culture for me because it doesn't exist. And what I'm starting to see is that same image that I've kind of wanted to see for myself in pop culture. Other people have found that for me in corporate culture. Like when other people, younger people, this has happened to me so many times at conferences, on campus, all the time. Like, I feel like some of the experiences that I've had have been immortalized. I mean, students have talked about some of my experiences, like, that's crazy, that's incredible. Wow, like literally like fandom sort of shit. And I'm just like a regular ass girl, you know? This is how I feel. I'm just like, man, I'm just like a regular ass girl. I'm just like you. There's nothing special about me, but there is something special about me. And I'm not just a regular ass girl. And, you know, I think it's about time that I just create my mark in the sand sort of shit and like really put some imagery behind whatever the fuck that means. Cause I don't know what it means. I don't have it like written out, but it's gotta be something because like we need representation beyond what is there now. Like there has to be. Um okay, but that actually wasn't what I wanted to get on and say either. I wanted to talk about elitism in neighborhoods because I was listening to that talk by Tupac, which I put in my last video, where he's talking about urban living and the problems with poverty, right? Now, the biggest problem with poverty is poverty clusters. Um, what that basically means is like, if you kind of understand that elementary school leads to middle school, leads to high school, leads to junior college, leads to university, leads to grad school, leads to doctorate programs, leads to fulfilling career in something. If that makes sense to you, then I feel like you kind of understand some aspects of society, right? Now, I feel like everyone who goes through that will create something in their lives. Like, you might not be like super rich or anything, but like, you'll be really educated and you'll have like a lot of understanding of like the world and society and the globe. So, so like for me, even though I didn't take that exact educational path, I have popped in and out of those circles enough times to kind of understand the culture, to know enough of the people, to kind of understand how to communicate and function in those circles, and like basically meet people who I want to meet in those circles. Now, I mean, everyone else, and this has happened to me multiple times, where, and I don't know what the fuck it is, especially when Black males, which is why sometimes, honestly, I try to stay away from the fuckery, but like, they have this tendency where they would try to push their own shit on you. Maybe not you, me. It was more like, you are a basic, you are a this, you are an orange blueberry. Like, whatever it is that they feel in their, like, you know, minds are like, you are a this. And sometimes I just be sitting there questioning, like, why are you, would, like, my existence doesn't have anything to do with you. Let's just, like, leave me out of it and leave me alone. Like, this is how I feel. But no, like, they don't want to, like, leave you out of the narrative. It's like, you have to be there for some reason. Anyway. But, like I said, so there's these, like, groups, right, of highly educated people who typically earn like a lot of money, and they live in places like California, New York, really all the major cities. London is another really popular one. I think Berlin, popular one. All the major cities around the country, the world, right? There are some places in Africa. I don't know where all the hotspots. Like there's some Lagos, Nigeria. I think is like a hotspot, and like not all of it, obviously. Like it's still developing, but like there's hotspots, right, where these like super educated people go, and like they raise their families. At Washington, Redmond is another place, but it's not Seattle. Kind of, it's like kind of, but those places are still kind of like segregated in a sense. So it's not because like the elite class of smarties, they're not. Most of them aren't white. We have to be very clear, especially in America right now. The elite class of smarties are not white people. There are white people in the group. Most of them though are not white. It's like a probably like an even distribution of like white and non-white. At least from what I've seen. I'm not gonna say in tech in these companies because there's hella roles that are like they just don't require much education. Like you could be a human resources person, sales. You could do like a whole bunch of shit that doesn't really require a brain, and so like you're there, but you're not there because you're smart. You're just there. That's where you will see like white mediocrity play, and it's just like that's where the Karens go. You know, they're just like there, not because they like deserve to be there. They're just there. Um, okay, not that wasn't the point either. But I think for some communities of color, they are confused because they think that like the sort of because like there's this idea of like Hollywood. It's like Hollywood and television shows and like media, radio, all of this shit that's giving these images and impressions of different groups of people as if all of the groups are like that. So it's like you know, like you see a TV show and you're like, oh, like how they made what's her face? She's like a Disney character. They made her Cinderella. Um it was like she was like a Latino girl as Cinderella. And they have the story, the West Side Story, the film, the movie, right? And it was like Maria and the apartment buildings and the dancing and shit. And it's like if you just go out into society, like nothing looks like West Side Story. Like I walk outside every day, I don't see West Side Story. Personally, where I am, I see a lot of maybe what is that? Call Me Maybe, maybe that. Okay, yeah, that seems like whatever that story with that Indian girl, the one that Mindy Kaling wrote for Insecure. That like yeah, okay, that seems true to life. I've seen that. But the West Side Story, I'm not seeing it, but also that I'm not a member of that community, so I don't know. I've heard there's something on Netflix called like something the block, rent the block or something, and my cousin watched that show and she said it was a good show. I haven't seen it. I don't really know. I don't watch it. Um, but what I have noticed is that people who are from there's communities like Fremont, Sacramento, um, I'm not gonna say Napa Valley because it's pretty affluent over there, but we're talking about affiliate cities that are like not very affluent. Okay, so like I just named two, but because I couldn't. Oh, Richmond, that's a good one. Um, yeah, Hilltop, it's the San Pablo. Hey, well, Hayward is like actually a pretty like middle class town. Hercules too, I think is a pretty middle class town. Um, but like, what are the others that are like? I'm trying to think. I was trying to map train stations, but there's places like basically like the Oakland Hills, Berkeley in general, San Francisco, certain neighborhoods where there's just like extreme wealth. You know, like I posted that video. There's a video on here where I was hanging out with. There's two dudes that I was talking to, and they both live in Russian Hill. And I don't know if you guys know this, but like the apartment that I was in Russian Hill, the rent there is $4,500 a month. That's how much rent costs for 1 month. Like you could go and rent this apartment right now. It's $4,500 a month. So that's how much it costs. Now I know most of you who are watching this are not paying $4,500 a month, and you probably couldn't do it. That means that you have to make 3 times that rent. So basically, you need to be making like $13,000 a month in whatever you do in order to live there. So you need to be like a doctor, a lawyer, a software engineer, a startup founder, or like an entertainer who's doing like really well. Those are the people who could live there. In my apartment building, rent is more like $3,000 a month. Most of the people who live here are students who have roommates, and their parents pay the rent. So the families split the rent among the roommates. That's how it goes. And these are like middle class families who save money their entire lives to send their kids to college. Like the whole point is like save money to send child through college. That's the point. That's what it is. That's the story. That's how it goes. Yeah. Now I think that all the kids who are coming from like the Richmond and the Sunset, maybe the, what is it? I don't even know all the districts in San Francisco that are like poor, but whichever ones those are, like those kids I don't know if they actually understand like the utility of living in neighborhoods like North Berkeley or like Russian Hill or like, the Oakland Hills. Like, what's the point of living in those neighborhoods and what you get from living in those neighborhoods? And some parts that I do feel like are a little bit sad. I think this is actually changing now a lot in the Oakland Hills, just because like you could afford shit in the Oakland Hills that you couldn't afford in the Berkeley Hills. But like, this is another reason why I continue to encourage more upwardly mobile Black people to move to Berkeley, because it's like it's an international community now, but it's been an international community. It's not a new international community. It's an old international community, and there are these like downstream effects that happen when you just kind of understand that from a young age that other people don't. So I think like some other people are confused about like how I speak in a certain way, or like I listen to a certain amount of music, or how I always know like who the coolest newest artists are and how I know which influencers to follow and stuff. It's just a part of just being on an international campus, that it's like I know stuff and then you just don't know. And maybe I should actually make a lot more content around how I'm finding stuff out, because my algorithm is different than your algorithm. Where I get my news is different from where you get your news. And yeah, I think I could probably do a lot better. I could probably do a lot more. I guess I haven't been because I'm lazy, but I definitely could. But yes, I'm lazy. I just am. That was not a great breakdown of what I wanted to say. Like, there were better ways I could have said that. But I think the point did kind of get across of like Hayward and Berkeley aren't the same. They're not equal. Russian Hill and Fremont aren't the same. They're not equal. It's a different amount of wealth. It's like a different class. I've talked about this before, but there's books, that I'd highly encourage more people to read, like Bobo's in Paradise. Maybe I'll actually just do a read along of that book. I'll go get it from the library or something and just do a read along, honestly, because I don't. Yes, but there's a lot of wealth in some places, and I feel like what I continue to hear communities of color talk about is like college and the suburbs, and Rich people are moving to the city. The suburbs, whatever that means to you, because like I said, Russian Hill and Fremont are not equal. The new immigrant who has a, $2,000 apartment in Fremont is not the startup founder who sold their company for $2 billion and is renting for $6,000 a month. Like, those are not equal experiences. And some people are just under the belief that they're using middle class to talk about that, because even that startup founder who sold their company for $2 billion, they are not Warren Buffett. Okay, like, yeah, Kanye West is not Warren Buffett or any of the people who own like the railroads in America. You know what I mean? Like, or even the dude who made like ketchup. Hein, how is it? Hein, right? It's like there's levels. And I'm just really tired in the Black community of everybody sitting here talking about like the suburbs. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I have never in life had an ambition to live in fucking Fremont. That's not. It's like that Kanye West quote. He's like, I don't rap so I can push a Volvo. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like Black people are literally rapping about getting from West Oakland to like Hilltop or something. Like, that's not. It's, or there was another song that some girl in Atlanta wrote where she was like, not Atlanta. And she started going through all the parts of the city which are not Atlanta. And I would just encourage, I don't know why anyone cares about area codes and where you live if you don't own the land. Like, if you're buying property, I suppose, in West Oakland, which would be a good investment, if you can do that, you should. But like, if you're not, what, like, who gives a shit if it's Atlanta or not? And like, Atlanta is like Georgia, the cost of living in Georgia is like dirt cheap. Like, no lie. Like, the median household income in Georgia is like $50,000. The median household income in San Francisco is like $120,000. Like, I feel like some of us are not having the same conversation. Also, yeah, I mean, the median income in a Black household is very low. So, I mean, I guess we'd have to talk about that, but there's just so many other factors that you have to consider where you have, just a ridiculous amount of single mothers who many like don't have any education at all. Okay, they don't have male. There's not two people in a household, two adults in a household who are contributing to the financial well-being of one child. There's like one kind of incapable adult who is trying to raise one child with really no, it's not just a lack of financial resources, it is also a lack of social mobility. So that is why there's like a perpetual cycle of generational poverty. You can't just have a bunch of children who don't have parents. And being a parent is like a whole ass full-time job. And it requires money in order to do that. You need about $70,000 in a household annually to like successfully raise a child. So if you're trying to figure out, why there's so many adults who are not doing well and who are not faring well under capitalism in America, it's because y'all are growing up in households that didn't make $70,000 a year. And I talked about this so many times, but like, it doesn't even make sense for so many reasons to look at my experience as a learning portal for really anyone. Like, some people, and I've seen this a lot, like a lot of the people who date, a lot of the women who date my brother, they are fascinated by his affiliation to like Hollywood and his family there. But like, my mother is a very she's a very logical woman, who understands certain aspects of society and survival. I don't like know another way to say it. Like growing up, we like I don't even my mom always like she always made like we were never low income. So like we never made enough money to qualify for any social programs ever. So like I never got any social programs growing up. I also had a godfather who is like a real estate mogul who bought basically all my shit growing up. And he also owned the home that we lived in. So my mom never paid rent. So for like 18 years of my life, my mom had a job that put her above the poverty line. Like she didn't have any education. Not well, she didn't have like a university degree, like a BA. I think she had like an associate's degree or something. But she always had jobs, like jobs with the city or jobs here, like basically like she was like a social worker, right? So she would work with like nonprofits or the city to do like social work. So that all those jobs make like $60,000 a year or something like that. So she was earning that money, but she never paid rent for 18 years. So all throughout me growing up, she never paid any rent, and she made $60,000 a year. So, and I went to public school. I went to Berkeley Public School, so she wasn't paying tuition. So I'm not saying this is totally accurate, but to an extent, my mother's experience, in my familial experience, I grew up in a household that basically made $70,000 a year with two people. And there was my brother lived there, except he would go with his dad a lot. Like his dad lived in LA, and I think like for like 6 years out of my life he just was with his dad in LA, because his dad, like my brother's family they're like entertainers in LA. So like he was with them. I'm not saying he liked it. He didn't like it. It wasn't fun for him. Like some experiences were bad, but also like the bad part wasn't the poverty. You know what I mean? Like it was that's not the part that we struggled with. So for me, growing up, because my entire experience was like buffered in all the ways, it was very hard for me to understand how to get into society and earn my way, because this is what I struggled with growing up. I was like, well, I don't want to be like my mother. I don't want to be a moocher. Like I just want to have like a regular job and like pay my way. Like that was my whole last goal. It's like, yeah, I just want to like have a regular job and just pay my way, just have like an apartment, eventually buy a house, retire. That's it. That was my goal. I want to have like a really basic life where I pay my way. Like that was my goal, because I saw my brother's family and all those people, those Hollywood people, having excess everything. And then I saw my godfather, who also had excess everything, but he was like a very much of a penny pincher. And I also saw, just by going to school, right, and having like friends who just like didn't have those experiences. Like their parents worked for things. Their parents, they all had academic degrees, and they worked very hard for like all of their things. And I wanted to be that person. I still want to be that person. I just want to work for my things. That's it. And like as a woman, you can do that. And you should do that, because then you can have choice about like the type of life that you want to live, and like what that means for you. Yeah. Um that's that's basically that's it. Um I don't I don't know. It's very weird, because I think people are confusing. They're just using the wrong terms for stuff. They're talking about rich when they're not actually referring to rich people. And they're talking about poor when they're not actually referring to poor people. Like people with apartments in the Bay Area who don't have affordable housing are not poor. So everyone can say what they want about me, but I don't have no affordable housing, and like I'm not even working as an engineer right now, so I think what's probably really important is for every individual person to realize that like they need to figure out how to take care of themselves. And when they get to a space where they understand that and they're actually successfully able to take care of themselves, and they can consider bringing another human into that situation, doing that with a very like specific intention on like I want to do this with another person, this specific person, and like I am signing up for this, and like this is how much it costs, and like this is what it means, and they need to like stick through that until that, you know, child is able to go out into society on their own. But until that happens, like you I think it's just too many people neglecting responsibilities. And quite a lot of people, I don't know why everybody's like doing the like book, what do you call it, the shared book bag thing, where they're like looking for they're looking to everyone else for all these answers. Like, hey, you need to go solve this problem. Hey, you need to go solve that problem for like a whole group of other people. Like, why are you looking to other people to solve your problems? Maybe this is like a real thing. Like, why doesn't everyone just get a job, bro? Like, because with the job, you realize, like, okay, here's what you can do with like your money. But if you don't make a certain amount of money, like, you can't do that stuff. So until you do make more money, this is what the situation is. Hmm.